Well, welcome. I'm Faith Justice. I'm the chair of the local Historical Novel Society, and I'm really happy to see so many people here today. I honestly wasn't sure because this is the first live meeting we've held since COVID. So 2.5 years plus. So really glad that you guys came out. Plus the fact that we tend to lose people when it's a rainy day or a snowy day. So again, thank you all for coming out. So just a real quick here, who has never been to one of our meetings before? Lots of meetings.
You know Sue, so I don't know if my
All right, well. All right, well, now I'll spend a little bit more time then on my notes. I actually brought a few notes just so I wouldn't ramble, but I'll spend a little more time. And please feel free to ask questions. So this is what we're doing this evening. I'm going to spend a couple minutes going through like who we are and what we do. I'm going to introduce our steering committee because we are an all-volunteer army. So our steering committee will stand and tell you folks who they are, what they do in the committee, and particularly like if they're running a program this fall, what the program is going to be about. Okay. After that, we're going to do an icebreaker trivia game, and that's why you have numbers on your name tags and on the tables. And the winner of the team will be working in teams. And the team that wins gets first crack at the books on the table, and the second group gets second crack until they're all gone. All right. And then we're going to have we'll have a wine break so people can get another cup of wine, glass of wine, and chat up a little bit, ask questions again if they want. Eileen Donovan will then do a short read from her brand new book that just came out yesterday. Yay! Congratulations, Eileen. And so she'll do a short read and we'll do a brief Q&A and then we will wrap. And again, please feel free to ask questions of any of the steering committee members or other folks who may have been at these meetings before. So just a few minutes then on who we are and what we do, why we exist. All right. As I said, we are a local chapter of a larger organization. The mothership is what I call it, but the Historical Novel Society is actually located in England, and you can go and join them. How many here are already members of the National? Okay, all right, about half, maybe a little less. All right, they do have a membership fee. It's very modest. For that, you get a lovely book review. I think it's 3 times a year, or is it 4? I forget if it's quarterly or if it's every 4 months. Okay. And they have every 2 years they have a conference. And their conference is this year. Okay. North America version had a conference last year, and we'll have another one in 23. That'll be in San Antonio. So if you are on our Facebook page, get on our Twitter, go check out our website. We always have information on our current programs and any upcoming information about meetings, about conferences, that sort of thing. So if you don't have it yet, I put out business cards that have all of our links on it. So you can pick up on if you don't know how to get to us. So, as a group, the original HNS organization said they wanted to deal with 2 pretty distinct groups of people. That they wanted to be able to deal with readers and writers of historical fiction, and they wanted to offer a way for readers to meet authors, meet their favorite people. This happens a lot at the conferences. The conferences are great for this. But also offer them the opportunity to meet and learn about, new and upcoming authors, and new works. So that's basically a lot of what goes on with our programming. We present a lot of programs that deal with, authors who come on and talk about a specific topic. So like next month, let's see, I've got that here somewhere. Next month, because it's October, we're doing monsters, Dracula and Frankenstein's origins in historical fiction, all right? And we've got 3 people, 2 of whom are members of our organization and another who is not. So let's see, so we've got Chris Walder. Chris is back there, she'll be with us next time. Got Lisa Yard, who's a member of our committee, she's on the steering committee. Lisa is in Barbados, and she will be joining us digitally, as will the 3rd person on our thing. So we're going to be trying to do some hybrid things in the future. All right. So we do several of those, and in fact, during COVID, that's primarily what we did. We primarily did author panels, talking about historical time periods or themes. Prior to that, when we were meeting live, we also did a lot of work for authors, and we had a lot of what we call craft meetings. And so we'd have industry professionals come in and talk. It's like editors, IP lawyers, people who talk to us about marketing, all these sorts of things. So for writers who were like up and coming and still learning their craft, we had this. And even for published authors, there was always something new. And for readers who like to get a peek behind the curtain, what goes on with the writers, always welcome at our open meetings. So now that we're coming back live and hybrid, we're going to be doing more of the craft meetings as well as the author meetings. And so I just wanted to get that out there. Let's see, what else do I want to say? We also are expanding, we want to expand our membership benefits. Because again, we kind of got stuck during COVID and didn't get a lot done. But we've got all kinds of exciting projects. We actually want to get another critique group started, which we had before COVID. A readers group if people are at all interested in that. We want to get a memberships email out where people can say, look, I just signed a contract, or I've got an agent, or my book's coming out in 3 weeks, kind of stuff. And we can broadcast that through our Facebook, through our website, through an email. So, but we're still getting back on our feet to do these kinds of projects. But if any of you are interested in joining us in trying to get some of these projects off the ground, if you have a project yourself you think would be good to be kind of sponsored by our group, please tell us. And in fact, there's a very pretty box over there on this table that's marked suggestions. And I spent all of like 5 minutes decorating that. So there are cards and there are pens. Please make some suggestions to us. What kinds of programs would you like to see more of, fewer of? What kinds of topics? Do you want more live? Do you want more hybrid? Do you want more online? It is very likely that next winter that we'll probably go back to doing digital, just because, as I said, a snowstorm knocks us out. But when the weather clears up, we'll probably be back here again. So please make suggestions to us. We really want to hear from you. All right. So at this point, I'd like to have the steering committee please stand up. Not all of you at once. I'm going to start. We'll just go around the table, around the room, and tell the group, your name very briefly if you've written something, and then what your role is in the steering committee, just so everybody has a face to put to the names. And again, you can talk to any of us during the line or the trivia program or whatever. So I'm going to start with Susan over here because I want to give her a shout out because she and Eileen did a lot of the work to plan this and get it off the ground. So, 3 collections of short stories. All my novels are historical fiction. My short stories kind of roam all over the place. And a children's book. And a nonfiction. So, And I do have like a kind of a second life also as a publisher. I took over an imprint from a dear friend of mine who had Space and Time books. I originally started off writing science fiction, fantasy, and horror. And so he wanted to retire, and I took over his work. And so whoever got, The Mirror, yeah, right down there. That's a Space and Time book, written by a dear friend of mine. It's a vampire story, but it's set in, it's a 2 timeline story, so it's set in modern times as well as back in like the 1600s. So I thought it would be appropriate to bring in. All right, so, and it also came to my attention that we forgot to say what we were doing in December. We said what we were doing in October, November. Stephanie, you want to stand up and just tell us what the theme is for December?
It's World War II, and I'm not sure which novels will be. We have 3 we're considering. Might do all 3, might do 2. I want to get an interesting conversation going about that period, which is so popular now in fiction, as you may have noticed. So look out for it. Is there more that I...
No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, because it's going to be December 6th, so we thought that would be an appropriate day to do World War II. And again, it'll probably be a hybrid, like with an in-person and digital presence. So now everybody's comfortable, ready. We're going to celebrate Eileen, and she's going to give us a short reading, and we can ask questions afterwards.
Welcome. Thank you, Faith. Thank you, everyone, for coming. My book is A Lady Newspaperman's Dilemma, which someone was very fortunate to be able to pick up from the table tonight. And it actually launched yesterday. So this has been what you could call a very trying couple of days. Yesterday was lots of buzzes on my phone and my computer and my Facebook page with everyone congratulating me and all kinds of things, and an interview podcast aired yesterday as well. So there was lots going on in my life yesterday, and I don't think I'm fully recovered. So you'll have to excuse me if this is a little disjointed today. Okay, so let me just give you a kind of idea of why I wrote the book. When I first thought about the topic, I was reminded of when I worked for an advertising agency, and I had to fight the men in the agency to get the title of account executive, which was not an easy battle because I would then be the first woman account executive in that particular advertising agency. So it was very much an uphill battle. And believe me, I fought, but I got it. So the story was originally set in the 1940s. I wrote the whole thing in the 1940s because the actual historical event took place in 1940. But then I realized that there were so many books being written with the World War II, as Stephanie can attest, with the World War II era and the themes, even though this did not involve World War II. I thought it would get lost in the mix, so I changed it to the 1920s. And the historical fact is a real historical fact. The actual bombing of a U.S. city by the U.S. Army is an actual fact. But I changed the time setting to the 1920s, and I rewrote the whole manuscript, and I also thought that it would be a time when women had a much tougher role to hoe as far as being considered a serious journalist. In fact, I just started reading The Manhattan Girls, which just came out a couple weeks ago, I guess. And again, and it's about Dorothy Parker and all of her cohorts. And the tough road that they were hoeing, becoming women journalists in the 1920s. So anyway, this is, if I I can keep my voice, this will be wonderful. This is a story that takes place in 1926, world of flappers, bathtub gin, and speakeasies. Alex, a cocky college graduate, starts her journalism career at a small Montana newspaper. And on her first day, there's a courthouse shootout, which thrusts her into the lead reporter's role. It also pushes her into the path of the town's most eligible bachelor. So she's now riddled with self-doubts. She doesn't know if she can handle the job of lead reporter or the budding love that she feels for this cowboy. A spring jam on the Yellowstone River and the flood that threatens to drown the town, and Alex is reporting on this. And this is the time that the U.S. Army has bombed Miles City, which is the town where this really took place. It draws national attention and an offer from the San Francisco paper. So now she's faced with a dilemma. Does she choose her dream career or her dream job? This is from the book. Alex meets her editor on the first day of the paper. I walked across the cavernous room filled with mostly empty desks and covered typewriters. It looked like a newspaper graveyard, desolate and gloomy. I knocked at the editor's door. "What?" he asked in a gravelly voice. "Alex Lawson, Mr. Gordon," I said. His head jerked up and the glasses perched on his forehead slid down to his nose. "You're Alex Lawson?" "I am. You probably expected a man, am I right?" No, he stammered. "Well, maybe. Is Alex your full name?" "No. My full name is Alexandria Victoria Lawson, but that's a mouthful. I've always been known as just Alex." "Your professors never mentioned you were a woman, but I guess that's not important. What's important is whether or not you can write." "Oh dear God, he's not going to fire me, is he? Before I even get started? I won't be able to show my face back in Jericho Flats." After what seemed like an eternity, he asked, "What made you decide to come here? I hope you don't think you're going to find a husband in Sunset Valley." "That's not why I'm here." I felt my temper rising and face heating up. How dare he assume I came here to husband hunt? I'm a career woman, and I came here to begin that journey, not to be claimed by a man and chained to a sink and cradle for the rest of my life. "And why don't you tell me why you are here?" "Ever since I could read a newspaper, I've wanted to be a journalist. When I hear or read something, I become curious. I want to know all the facts of a story. What happened? Why it happened? Who are the people behind the news? What about getting married? Having kids? That's what most young women want." "Afraid that's not for me. A career as a journalist is all that's important to me. I can't see myself as a housewife and mother." The minutes ticked by. Finally, he stood, reached his hand across the desk and said, "Welcome to the Star." Later that same day, Betty, the lead reporter, takes Alex to the courthouse. The click-clack of our heels on the marble floor were the only sounds in the great hall until a woman's screams and 2 gunshots shattered the silence. "Come on!" Betty grabbed my arm and we ran up the marble stairs to the second-floor courtrooms. One deputy lay on the floor. Blood ran from a bullet hole in his chest. Another deputy knelt next to him, clenching his stomach. An older woman stood further down the hall, plastered to the wall, her hand covering her mouth. The prisoner waved a gun at us and fired again. The shot hit Betty, and she toppled backwards down the staircase. I screamed and ran to her. Blood poured down her face from a gash on her forehead and seeped through her suit jacket around the bullet hole near her left shoulder, but she was still conscious. "Help! Help!" I yelled. "Somebody get an ambulance!" My heart pounded, my head swam, and I didn't know what to do. I moved here to write news stories, not take part in gunfights. "Lay still." "I'll be fine. Go back and get the story." "I can't leave you." "Get the story," Biddy said through gritted teeth. I crept up the stairs, but before I reached the top step, another shot rang out. "There, that should hold you," a man said. I peeked up from my crouched position and saw a tall, wiry cowboy pointing a gun at the prisoner he'd just wounded. The cowboy had his boot on the criminal's wrist, his hand still holding his gun. "You," the cowboy said, looking at me. "Come over here and get that gun." I rushed over, grabbed the gun, and backed away. I felt sick as I looked at the carnage of blood and bodies strewn around the courthouse floor. Other people spilled out of the courtroom, and their voices echoed off the walls. I began to wonder if shootings were normal in this town. Certainly no one seemed particularly upset. Were we back in the old Wild West where arguments were settled with shootouts? I spotted the older woman whose screams had initially attracted our attention. She was still plastered to the wall, eyes wide with terror. I pushed through the crowd to reach her. "Did you see what happened?" I asked. "It must have been terrible." "Oh, it was. The deputies came down the hall with the prisoner, and just before they reached the door, he started fighting with them, and somehow he managed to get one of their guns." I wrote down every word as fast as my shaking hand would allow. "And then what happened?" I asked. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions except for what happened.
Now, I'm very smoked because I won your book, so I get to find out.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Could you tell us more about the actual bombing of where it was?
Sure. Yeah, in 1940, there was an ice jam on the Yellowstone River. And it happened right at Miles City, Montana, which is a small community. It's the county seat of Custer County, but it's a small community in southeastern, I have to get my geography right, southeastern Montana. And within hours, it started to flood the town. And it was monumental. It was a situation where the water was rising ridiculously fast. The Yellowstone was just overflowing, and the town was really in dire straits and threatened to be wiped out completely. Many people were on roofs waiting to be rescued. Again, like I said, it's a small town, so there weren't a lot of rescue people around. And this was in 1940, so you have to think about how many men were left in the town, old men and young men. You know, all the healthy middle-aged men were drafted, except for the ranchers, who of course were out on their ranches away from the flood, so they didn't even realize that the town was being flooded. And they tried everything. They got a group of men, and this is detailed in the story itself, they got a group of men who were local pilots, too old to go to war, but local pilots. They tried bombing kind of, some dynamite down there they got from a mine in the district. Didn't work. So finally the mayor of the town called the governor's office and he said, "Send in the bombers." And they contacted an Air Force base, an Army base, because we didn't have the Air Force then, so an Army Air Corps base in North Dakota. And they actually sent in bombers equipped with lots of bombs, and they bombed the Yellowstone River. And it was only because they were able to, with these bombs, to break the ice jam that the town was saved. So when I first heard that story, that's what started me. I said, "Oh my God, this is amazing." I mean, for the United States Army to go in and bomb a town. Who ever heard of this? Nobody knows. Nobody knows it happened. I mean, this is not something the Army propagates. You know, oh yeah, we bombed the town. So, so I said, I should tell this story. How many people have ever heard this story? And then I said, how can I tell this story? Oh, okay. So think about the time period. 1940, how did people get their news? Radio, newspapers. Basically, there were kind of no TVs, and you're talking about a really, really rural community here. So I doubt if anybody had a TV. So I said, okay, newspapers. Okay, so who reports the news? Reporters. Okay, so we keep backtracking until I finally got to the point of, if I make it a lady reporter, that might hold some interest, and then from there I just have let my imagination kind of take over. Yeah, Faith?
Yeah, so what was the hardest part about moving it from the 40s? Because I read the 40s version.
That's right, you did.
So what was the hardest part about moving it from the 40s to the 20s?
The hardest part was getting rid of all of the 40s references and rewriting it with 20s references. Because all of a sudden I was like, well, wait a minute, they didn't have that in the 20s, did they? So this was another months and months and months of research and making sure that I got everything that was pertaining to the 1940s out of the book and getting things that were pertaining to the 1920s into the book and still making it flow in a story. So that was, I mean, I may as well have just taken the first manuscript and thrown it in the garbage and started from scratch. It would have been a lot easier, believe me, it would have been a lot easier than doing what I did. But it seems to be a pattern of mine. I write a whole book and then I say, oh no, I think it would be better if I put it here. And so I just change everything. So yeah, this is, well, that's the second time I did it. With my debut novel, I did the same thing. With, this is the second time I did it, and with the third book that's coming out in March, I did the same thing. You think I would learn? Never. I don't seem to learn. But
Writing is rewriting.
writing is rewriting, but in my case, it's ridiculous rewriting.
Oh.
It's rewriting. It's just taking the whole concept of the book and saying, no, I think I'll change it now that I have it written. But, well, thank you very much for your attention. I appreciate it.
All right. That concludes the formal part. Is this on? Okay, yes, it is. Okay, so I just wanted to wrap up and say, hope you all enjoyed yourselves and that you learned something new, either from the trivia or from Eileen, or from some of your teammates. And I want you to watch for announcements for our fall lineup. And if you didn't sign in, please do. I'm sure everybody did. Okay. And we did ask for a phone number, and we have a very particular reason for asking for the phone number. Loretta referred to it. We've been having a little bit of a problem with our email servers. And some of our emails, we had about a quarter of our emails bounce, several times this year. And so we're trying to get to the bottom of that tech problem so that we can let people know, who might not be getting our emails. So if we have your phone, we can at least call you and say, what's going on. I also wanted to say we do have a privacy notice. I will say we do not sell or use your emails, your phone number, any of that sort of stuff. That's just for us to use. And it's only for contact about what our organization is doing. So that's our privacy thing.
Hey, can I just say one
Oh,
thing?
sure.
Before, if anyone's interested in the book, I left some press releases on the sign-in table and has a QR code there, so you can just click with your little smartphone and.
All right. Thank you. All right. So we are still nailing down our programs for the first quarter next year, but we do have some things that are set up for May and June. Susan had mentioned that next May she's going to be doing a program. This will be now. Susan, is this? I know your book, Magician and Fool, was published in the UK. This is the US?
Yes, this is the U.S. Version that's been edited and proofread by U.S. editors.
Okay, so no lifts and stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Right. All right. So Susan's going to be doing a program on paranormal Victorian themes in May, and we're also going to be featuring Stephanie's newest book, The Boy in the Rain, which is going to be coming out on June 1st, as she had mentioned. So look at your emails, check out our website, get in touch if you're not getting anything, please so that we can figure out, what the chokehold is on our communications.
Facebook is really good, what Susan does on Facebook.
Yeah,
So that's
Facebook is really good,
I know.
yeah. This is a very personal thing, I just hate Facebook.
Fair enough.
For and that's the reason why I don't show up on there very often. I have a Facebook author page, and I do, do that, but that's a very personal thing and has nothing to do with this group. And as long as it sticks to, our organization and the stuff that we're doing, great, So yes, please, we've got Facebook, we've got Instagram, we've got Twitter, we've got our website. We're going to be overhauling our website because we want to make it a lot more accessible. I feel like people who might not want to be on Facebook or Twitter or anything like that, they'll go to a website. So we're going to be, overhauling that and trying to make that our central, place so that people who might have, political objections to other social media have a place to go to get information. We're also looking to get all of our recorded programs, which we've got 2 years worth of recorded programs. We're looking to get those on our website and or a YouTube channel. YouTube, I have another problem with, but again, my personal political preferences, sorry about that. But they also have ads and stuff like that. So I'm trying to, we're trying to figure out how to get our recordings onto our website so that anybody can access them without having all the ads or all the other crap that goes with YouTube. So anybody who wants to help with that particular project, please get in touch because we're working on that. So thank you again for coming. Don't forget the suggestion box. We have about 10 till they come in and start throwing us out. So we have about 10 minutes. So if you want a last little quick drink or check with somebody, yes.
Just a question, does the website have enough data for videos, for the recordings and so on?
It may not, and that's one of the technical things we're looking at as to whether or not we need to move to a different platform. So, you never know that I actually was a systems analyst and computer person. I am, I lost that 20 years ago, and stuff moved on so fast, so fast. So when I went on to writing, there went my tech skills. Any final questions?
When is the next meeting?
When is the next meeting?
October 5th, right here.
All right. So again, thank you all for coming, and yes, got more questions, yay, go.
No, it's not really a question.
Sure.
It's just encouraging folks to come to the Brooklyn Book Festival.
Yes.
October 2nd, so right before the next meeting, and it's such a great event.
It is a wonderful event. We actually had a presence there several years ago. We actually had a booth and table, and our people had their books out, and I had one of my most recent one at that time, which was called Sword of the Gladiatrix, which is a lesbian gladiatrix novel. And funny enough, people were saying, "Oh, isn't that a niche?" The men loved it. I collected so many business cards. So anyway, any other questions, comments, announcements? Anybody else here have a book coming out soon that they want to talk about, or just give a plug for? Yes, go ahead.
I don't have a book coming out yet, but I do have something exciting and I would like to share.
Sure.
Yes.
So my book Star Sheepwell came out last year, and one of the characters has a cafe, and it's set in Sweden at the turn of the 20th century, and her cafe exists in the virtual world. And I have created cafe in VR, so you can travel back in time to Sweden in 1918 to Lund, and you can go into her cafe, and we can all meet there.
Oh,
Can
fun!
you send us your?
Sure.
Yes,
My
let us
business
know.
card is there, so if you go on our website, you'll find it. It's the Four Mothers Cafe. And
Just a few more?
I might have more of that. So it's super exciting, and I hope. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it should be on our Facebook our Friday Facebook activity
Right,
page.
right.
Post it there.
Sure, I can do that. I can do
Yes.
that. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
It sounds
It's amazing. It's unreal how amazing it is. Because I'm in my own world that I only exist in.
right.
So thank you for letting me share that.
Oh, not at all. And in fact, like I said, one of the things we want to do is more of that kind of thing. So we are planning on having more book giveaways. People will be encouraged to bring flyers, pass out things, your business cards, whatever. So, we're totally open to that. Folks who come, bring those kinds of things. We'll set them out on a table so that, all the folks who come and visit us can pick up those things. So again, if you come, please do that. And we're looking to do more like, email blasts and maybe even, if some people want to get together and put together a marketing group, there's all kinds of folks who've done that over the years. We have not sponsored it ourselves, but if individuals want to get together and put together, marketing group, we'd be happy to put people in touch with each other. So, anything else? Yes.
I'm new and I have a inherited historical novel that I'm working on that is not this, but because it's bookish, I'll share that I wrote a solo show about being a transcriber for mass media during 9/11. That's a 60-minute show that I'm doing on October 13th at Tada Theater at 28.
Excellent. Yeah. Writing plays.
I don't have a card.
Post it Friday.
I'll post it Friday.
Yes. Post Friday. On Facebook. Writing plays. That's writing.
That's right.
Yeah.
And 9/11 is a period now.
Yes.
No.
It's history.
Oh, that's okay.
My students now.
All right. Again, I want to thank everybody. Please come back. Please keep in touch. And again, suggestions. Take care.